There's a reason India have such a dominant record over Sri Lanka at home, and India showed that in good measure in this first international, winning by 67 runs. Now you look at the difference between the two sides on the card, it shows only 67, and there's a reason I'm saying only 67, because it could have been much worse had it not been for that 100-run partnership when all was lost between Dasun Shanaka and Kasun Rajitha. The moment India made 373, you knew the game was over, because at various times in this game, the Sri Lankan captain was searching for bowlers, and he didn't find them. The one thing that stands out over there, 113 for Virat Kohli, century number 73. For 3 years, there was a drought, and as soon as the drought is broken, we're seeing Virat Kohli back to what he's doing best. That is just playing the way he wants, hammering runs. 113 of 87, strike rate of 130 is just fantastic. And for the 9th time in a row now, he's got back-to-back hundreds. Why am I so happy seeing this Virat Kohli innings? Because it reminded me of Kohli at his peak, where he was batting untroubled. Now, people have told me on the net that, he got 2 lives, so why am I saying untroubled? It's because there were hardly any false shots. He never seemed in any trouble. The 2 lives that he got were when he was playing shots, and he just seemed in control. And you're not going to believe this, but you'll have to, that when Virat Kohli was 25 or 28, I actually went towards our stats person asking for Kohli's 100 details, because the 100 was just written all over there. It was an absolutely flat deck, but there was no bowler to trouble him, and Kohli was back in form, and it looked like nothing had changed, and the old Kohli was back. I know there will be more challenges ahead, but this was an untroubled, supreme innings. It augurs very well for India that Virat Kohli has started 2023 in such fashion. If you look at his batting performances at the moment, I think it's fair to say that the one-day international format is currently where he is at his strongest. He admitted after that innings that the tour of Bangladesh, as it went along, he wasn't quite able to fulfill what he wanted from that tour. He looked a little shaky in the test matches. In T20, he's got to go for it. But the one-day format, as I've said so many times, was just made for Virat Kohli. And if he can sustain this form in a World Cup year, who knows? He might bring a lot of cheer to Indian hearts. It helped Kohli, and we should not lose sight of that. It helped Kohli that he came in when the score was 140 for 1 in 20 overs. And that came out of that opening partnership between Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. It was interesting to see how it went, because Rohit gave it just a little bit of time, and soon he was playing the pull shot. He was coming down the wicket, hitting over the top. Sri Lanka fed him on the pull shot a little bit, which I remember saying on the air is like feeding fertilizer to plants. And that innings of that partnership of 140 was just fantastic. And it's good to see the 2 veterans about whom there's been some discussion. You look down the averages, they're both in the sort of high 30s, while everybody else is 40, 50, 60, 70. So I think it was important for the team that both Rohit and Virat got going, and they got going really well. Which brings me to the interesting point. So much debate around Shubman Gill. I can understand Ishan Kishan being left out, and everyone thinking, look, that's not fair because he's just hit a double 100, and I can understand that completely. But who is going to look Shubman Gill in the eye and say, you know what, in your last 12, 13 innings, you're averaging 70 at a strike rate of 100, but we're going to leave you out. This is a player that India is going to invest a lot in the future, and that is an extraordinary record. Shubman Gill is playing outstanding one-day international cricket, and there was never, ever any question of leaving him out. What do you do with Ishan Kishan? I think there's only one spot in this team that Ishan Kishan can fight for. It's a spot that's been opened up because of the unfortunate accident with Rishabh Pant. I think if Pant was available, he'd be playing today for KL Rahul. The question is, can you then pick Ishan Kishan and put him in the middle order, maybe bat him at 4, maybe bat Shreyas at 5, and see if he can find a spot in the middle order, because that is the only spot that is currently available in this batting lineup. Tells you a thing or two, doesn't it? I wouldn't mind considering that. Now, KL Rahul has struggled in T20 cricket. He's struggled in Test match cricket, but he's averaging 44 in one-day international cricket. Now, you look even more closely at those numbers. Last 19 innings, he's averaging 44. But in 2022, he averaged a tad under 30, which would suggest that he's maybe a little lucky to keep his spot. But India want that wicketkeeper batting in the top 5. If Ishan Kishan can bat in the middle order, he represents an option. So there you are. That was all the batting debate, and we haven't even talked about Sky. We'll do that another day. Sky's the one-day player isn't yet Sky, the T20 magician who's wowing audiences all around the world. The moment India made 373, I think it was clear that the game was beyond reach. And the moment Siraj produced that fantastic burst, and he's just rising up and up and up the stakes in the white ball game. His first spell was 5 overs, 2 for 15. He finished with 7 overs, 2 for 30. And every time he came on, he asked questions. What I liked especially about Siraj was that he got the outswinger going again. He's got such a beautiful natural outswinger that we were a little worried with his emphasis on the scrambled seam, whether he was losing that. He got that brilliant outswinger going. He got the in-swing going with the scrambled seam, the inward movement. And I thought the wicket of Kusal Mendes was the bowling highlight of India's performance. Then there was Umran Malik. His job is to come in and be the enforcer in the middle overs. You look at those numbers there, and they seem that he was a little expensive because Dasun Shanaka took on him in his last burst, which was 2 overs for about 25 or so. But in the middle overs, he did his job. 3 overs, 2 for 12 was the second of 3 spells that he bowled. But don't forget, he's only played 6 games. And Umran Malik is only going to get better because he's showing the tendency to get better. And that's a very positive sign. The reason India can have that 6th bowler in the side is because, once again, Hardik Pandya delivered with the ball. A little expensive, he picked up a wicket, but when Rohit Sharma has 6 bowling options available, you can play an Umran Malik as an enforcer. So I thought Siraj at the top and Umran Malik in the middle were the big bowling pluses for India. I also saw something with Yuzvendra Chahal, just pushing the ball through a little bit in conditions that were very, very difficult for bowlers. 10 overs, 1 for 58 is very good return for Yuzvendra Chahal. So from that point of view, India had a few pluses to look at. You cannot end without that performance by Dasun Shanaka. If there's one thing you want to fault Dasun Shanaka about, was when him and Chamika Karunaratne were batting, they really went so slow as to put the game beyond reach. And once it had reached a nothing to lose situation, then Dasun Shanaka came forth. But he wasn't slogging. This wasn't the innings of a desperate man trying to get to 100. This was full of excellent shots. There were pull shots, there were cover drives, there were dabs behind point, there were sweep shots. He did everything. And the form he is in, I will go with what Kumar Sangakkara said, that you play him by the situation and not by the order. And the moment you go past 20 overs, you just need to use much more of Dasun Shanaka. So India go 1 up, and my suspicion is that this one-day series will probably not be as close as the T20I series. We've got games in Kolkata, we've got games in Thiruvananthapuram, but on the evidence of what we saw in Guwahati, India have just a little too much in the bank against Sri Lanka.